Okay, have you started? I hope we have. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We have. I hope we have. I think we have. Okay. Um,
We are live.
okay, we are live. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Beenish, and meet Ms. Nusrat Sohail, founder and president of W2W Forum, and Ms. Shama Haider, Assemblywoman Shama Haider, New Jersey's legislative assembly person. In a time of divided politics, Ms. Shama Haider is the non-political politician, as being conscious of her actions and the effect of them on her constituents has always been on the forefront of her decision making. In fact, one only need to observe Ms. Shama's political legacy briefly to realize that there is no politicized policy or viewpoint in the way she conducts herself in her official role. Whether it be participating in retail politics and joining her sisters or brethren on the grocery store corners, asking for signatures or the like, or whether it be to fund an initiative to resolve the latest plight, Ms. Shama gives it her all and inspires those around her to also join ranks in her amazing efforts towards an equitable future for all. Today, we talk to Ms. Assemblywoman Shama Haider about her life and times and what brought her to the diverse world of American political. Assalamu alaikum, Ms. Shama.
Assalamu alaikum. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for asking me.
No worries. It's our honor to host you. In fact, alhamdulillah. So let's start. I had the luck to review your life basically in this amazing endeavor that Miss Nusrat put me in, and I'm sorry to say that before that I'm very clueless when it comes to Pakistani politics, especially or Pakistani history. But come to find out when I read about your life and times and that you worked with the likes of Miss Nusrat, for example, Miss Nusrat Bhutto, for example, it really it inspired me to, beyond I could imagine, to be working in Pakistani government at the level that you were, and then to come into America and then approach American political. So what exactly, in your words, brought you to this forum? Like, if you'd like to give us a brief history of what made Shama Haider the assemblywoman she is today.
Well, it started back in Pakistan when I was in college, and there was a military dictatorship in Pakistan. And sorry, something went wrong there.
Okay.
And as college students always are everywhere in the world, we were in the forefront of all the protests. So once I started protesting and getting involved with it, I realized that the way to make change is to be part of the system. So I got involved with the local political party and all, and eventually ended up working for the wife of the prime minister. And that made me even more conscious of how politics is. It's a question of degrees, but the basic format I don't think really changes too much. I mean, of course, there are autocratic military dictatorships which are quite on the outside, but most democratic governments have a similar path. So when I moved to the United States, in my hometown, I got to know friends who were involved with politics, and they invited me to join the Democratic Committee, and I did because they were like-minded people. And from that, उससे एक बात से बात बढ़ने की जो कहते हैं, तो I became involved with, campaigns होते थे, तो friends are running. It's okay to speak in Urdu, right?
Oh yes, 100%.
So campaigns होते थे, दूसरी campaigns run किए, polling stations पे जाना, door to door walk करना for other people. And then slowly I got involved. My committee asked me to run for council. फिर अपने लिए करना पड़ा, grocery store के बाहर खड़े हो, post office के बाहर खड़े हो, knock on people's doors. Actually, I love that part of the politics. मुझे वो उसमें बड़ा मजा आता है. You go, you get FaceTime with people you really learn what people are, and sometimes you're surprised by what you think you know what people are thinking, but they surprise you totally. So I ran for council, I got elected, then I got involved with the Democratic Committee. Ab I'm the chair of the Democratic Committee. और हमारा काम होता है candidates तलाश करना, which is not an easy job. So, I'd been active. So I was known in the county level. I was known, by other people. So when the opportunity I to run for assembly and I was asked if I wanted to run, I said yes. That's how I am where I am. But it's a
So,
long walk. I've been doing this for over 30 years, so it didn't happen like this.
mashallah. As you said that you joined Pakistani, like rather worked for Ms. Nusrat during the time of an incumbent dictatorship. As someone who was so young at the time, how did you deal with, in terms of just the frankly, kids that age would not even think about politics, much less actually changing politics as they see it. How did you deal with that part? Like, how did you overcome that fear factor, so to speak?
You know, all of us in life need a mentor or somebody to look up to. And Begum Bhutto was my mentor, and I just followed her lead. She was the most amazing lady. If you had ever met her, you would have been amazed by how grounded she was, how down to earth she was. You would think when she became the prime minister's wife, president pele, phir prime minister, ke- it, people's heads turn in jobs like that. But she was the most down to earth regular person. She was not one. She treated everybody. I mean, hamare office mein, the clerk would sit there, we would sit there, all of us. She would treat all of us like her children, basically. And you learn from somebody, and then we would talk. You pick up, this is how you respond to this is how you say to this, and you absorb it. And same thing when I moved to the United States. Very fortunate, the former majority leader of the New Jersey State Assembly, Senator Weinberg. She's my mentor here. She's a she's the leader in women's issues. And Nusrat, you would know that from her, from your work with women. Leader in women's issues, and in a and यहाँ पर भी majority आदमियों की होती है. The majority is men. But to become the majority leader in the Senate and to hold her own and to call Christie out when he did the bridge gate, she's my mentor. Abhi, if I have a question, she's the first person I call. Senator, what do you think about this? You always learn. कोई दुनिया में इंसान नहीं है जो कहे जी अब मैंने सब सीख लिया है. Never. A new situation will arise. And it's always good. Advice लेने में आपकी कमी नहीं होती है. You improve. So I'm always asking everybody, tell me how to do this. Hey, I don't know what to do with this. Can you help me? And I see कि आप लोगों से सच्चे दिल से advice मांगेंगे, they will give you good, genuine advice. So that's my key. Never think that I don't think I know anything. I want to keep learning as I go. And I found that even in the assembly, the first day I walked into the assembly, I said, Ya Allah, main to kisi ko nahi janti. What am I going to do here? You look at all the people, you say, oh my God, who are these people? What am I going to do? But they were the nicest people. Everybody was willing to help. They know that you're like a deer in headlights, you're totally lost. They would come, they would explain things to you. And then slowly you just start, you start becoming confident of what you're doing. And that's how it works. I think that's how life works, Nay?
Excellent. I love how you actually talked about your first time in, on the floor, basically, and when you entered that arena. I think not many people have ever, obviously, most people have not experienced that. And to say that they were very welcoming, I think that's a perspective that many of us did not know it actually existed, that they were
I,
welcoming.
I was really very anxious the very first day, as anybody would be. Think about this. New Jersey ki population hai 9.3 million. The state is divided into 40 election districts. 40. Har 40 mein, everywhere there is one senator or two assembly people. So there are 80 people in the assembly. 80 people representing 9.3 million. That's a big thing. It suddenly makes you feel very responsible and very nervous. And when you walk in and you see people who've been there for 10 years, 20 years, the speaker sitting on the dais, and you say, I'm going to be a failure at this. I don't know how to do this. But then luckily everybody helps. Everybody helps. Even today, if I go to anybody in the assembly and say, Assemblywoman, Assemblyman, I need help on this, everybody, I have never met one person who did not extend their hand of friendship and support. So that I think is how we get through this. That's been a real plus.
अच्छा तो ये बताएं कि 2 साल हो गए हैं आपको असेंबली में माशाल्लाह हम कम्युनिटी ने खूब सेलिब्रेट किया था आपको और जबकि हमें पता है कि आप सिर्फ पाकिस्तानी अमेरिकन आपका बैकग्राउंड है आप सर्व लार्जर कम्युनिटी को करने आए हैं तो आपकी असेंबली में आजकल काम क्या चल रहा है लेट्स डू एन इजी टॉक ऑन दैट आसान अल्फाज में
आज the biggest अभी जो बिल पास हुआ है, the most important bill अभी जो पास हुआ है after the new session starts, each session is 2 years, so अब नया session start हुआ है और सबसे जो important और अहम बिल पास हुआ है वो affordable housing का बिल है.
अरे वाह
that is, हर चीज, when you think about it, when you think about all the social issues, the most serious issue is housing. Why do people become homeless? Because they can't afford the housing. Why is there domestic violence? Because people are unhappy in their lives with the lack of housing and they take it out one person or the other. Why are children suffering in schools and not getting food? It all because the money is all going towards housing. सबसे बड़ा एक्सपेंस आपका हाउसिंग होता है. एक हाउसिंग का एक्सपेंस ऐसा हो जो आप अफोर्ड कर सकते हो. Most people finding it very hard. New Jersey is not a cheap place to live in. So, I think this affordable housing का जो bill है, it will go because इससे municipalities and will be forced into building affordable housing. And there are a lot of places which are going to fight this because they think कि नहीं, my town will not look good, ये नहीं होगा वो. But I think social justice is above and beyond anything else. Government का job क्या है? Government की job है to provide for everyone living in the state. And I think affordable housing is key to that. So I'm very happy कि वो bill pass हुआ है. That was the main thing. अभी हमारे एक ही session हुआ है. But ये होता है, there are 80 people, they can bring in 80 new ideas. People bring in 80. One of my favorite things is transportation. क्योंकि मेरा जो district है, it's right with George Washington Bridge and a lot of people commute to New York. हमारे district में transportation बहुत बड़ा problem है. We all know Jersey में एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाने के लिए there's no such thing as a direct bus. So it's a mess. So that's an issue I would like to work on. And उसके साथ tied to that is environment. क्योंकि अगर आप गाड़ियां आप कम चलाएंगे तो environment उतनी बेहतर होगी. You need to pollute it less and less. I've also now in the new session become chair of the committee, Children, Families and Food Security. So that's going to be my big focus. Children, families, food security. Food security is a big issue in New Jersey. मुझे नहीं पता था कि it's such a big issue. I'm learning all this because children are going hungry to school and therefore, Nusrat, you are in the education field. Children coming hungry to school, कैसे वो पढ़ेंगे? We just passed a bill last session actually to increase school free lunches for public and private schools. So इस तरह की चीजें, I love working on social justice issues. I think they are the most important issues. So, with children, families and food security, I'm looking forward to do some work in that field.
Okay, so आप स्कूल लेवल पे इस पे काम कर रही हैं पर क्योंकि हम आपको पता है हमारा शजोरी हाउस है तो हम दूसरे एंड पे भी काम करते हैं और जब हमारे पास खवातीन आती हैं तो जो होमलेस होती हैं उनके पास खाना भी नहीं होता है तो हम उनके लिए स्नैप वगैरह के लिए अप्लाई करते हैं और वो टाइम लेता है उतने दिन तक 6 हफ्ते से 2 महीने तक टाइम लेता है उनको सस्टेन कैसे करें तो फिर कम्युनिटी पुल इन करती है बट देयर शुड बी सम रिसोर्स कि वहां जाके टैप करें हम पैंट्रीज जाते हैं पैंट्रीज जाके उठाते हैं चीजें पर हलाल खानों की पैंट्रीज में हर जगह नहीं मिलती है खाने नहीं मिलते तो I think maybe something on those lines as well. अगर आप
That's a great idea. In fact, you've given me an idea कि ये जो period है between getting the benefits and applying for the benefits, कोई emergency relief होनी चाहिए. This is
जी
what you're saying, है ना?
जी
I
बिल्कुल
think that's worth looking into. Talk about filling forms. Government forms ना, तो
जी
एक आपको PhD चाहिए उसमें.
जी जी जी
A few years ago, there's an immigrant family I know, Pakistani हैं, वो मेरे पास आए, they were qualified for Medicaid, मगर उनसे फॉर्म नहीं भरे जा रहे थे. मैंने कहा लाइन मैं भर देती हूँ, मैं आपकी हेल्प करती हूँ. मैंने जो फॉर्म पढ़े, मैं कहा भाई ये तो कोई मास्टर हो जो पढ़, मैं तो मेरे बस का काम नहीं है. I then went to social services with them. You know, believe me, I spent 4 hours in social services. 3 hours we waited, 1 hour we spent with the person who helped us. फिर जाके कहीं वो फॉर्म इस हालत में फिल हुआ कि उन बेचारों को फाइनली अप्रूव हो गया. ये होना नहीं चाहिए. मैं औरों से भी ये बात करती हूँ कि गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म्स आर मेंट टू बी फिल्ड बाय रेगुलर पीपल. You
जी
don't have to be a lawyer or an engineer. These are homeless people, आगे distressed हैं, और आप
जी
उनको ऐसे फॉर्म पकड़ा देते हो जो कि आम खास कोई नहीं समझ सकता.
जी
So
तो हम लोग
I
भी
hope
सोशल वर्कर होते जा रहे हैं इसी काम में, तो हम लोग
हाँ,
करने लगे हैं ये चीज. पर आप जो कह रही हैं ना, जो होमलेस अगर जो होता है उसके साथ कुछ कमियां होती हैं, और डेफिनेटली उनके दिमाग पर दिस फॉर्म फिलिंग इज नॉट इन देयर
no,
माइंड. सो
no.
और ऑन टॉप ऑफ इट सोशल सर्विसेज में आप जा नहीं सकते. मिडिल सेक्स काउंटी में साफ मना कर देते हैं कि हम एंटरटेन नहीं करेंगे, और फोन पे आप 2-2 घंटे बैठे हैं. So
बिल्कुल, I
this red
totally.
tapeism is definitely there in social
हाँ,
services.
ये बहुत फेलिंग है. ये जो लॉजिस्टिकल्स है ना, इनमें बहुत फेलिंग है.
जी
लोगों को अप्रोच पीपल गेटिंग टू व्हाट दे नीड, फॉर्म्स भरना, फॉर्म्स को अंडरस्टैंड करना, और फिर उसका फॉलो अप क्या है, यू नो.
जी
एंड फॉर अ होमलेस पर्सन, कोई होमलेस है, उसने कोई एड्रेस दिया है, वहां कोई जवाब आया, वो कहीं और जा चुका है तब तक, यू नो. So there's all sorts of issues, and I'm just, मैंने बताया, this is my first year in being chair of this committee. Last session I was in environment or transportation. तो इस साल I'm being asked to chair this committee. तो I'm trying to learn. मैं इतने organization से मिल रही हूँ because I want to learn from the other side, जो कि आप जैसे लोग, जो कि you are in the trenches, आप तो
जी
day to day काम कर रहे हैं इस चीज का. तो this is right now, it's my education. तो आप भी please मुझे, I'm glad we are having this conversation because it's giving me more and more ideas to research and look into. But definitely, yeah, इसमें government fails in this, in making easy access, जिसे कहते हैं ना. It's not easy. It's really not easy.
जी बिल्कुल.
So, going back to just basically how it all began. Like, I know you came in 19. And you have, mashallah, so much knowledge. And as we discussed, many people that come to the United States are lacking. उनको बिल्कुल इतनी intricate knowledge तो दूर की बात, उनको ये भी नहीं पता होता कि like how everything is going to be run over here. Like, how exactly I want you to build a path of how you came in 1977 and then when from councilwomen and what drove you to do that here. Because many people going back to what we typically talk about here, because many of our community members are hardly involved in government at all. Many of them don't even vote. So how did you, as an immigrant, decide not only to vote, but also to run for office? Like, what brought you to that?
I think that's something you do because you realize that is your civic duty. That's how I was taught, that this is your civic duty. Whether it's whatever, you have to participate in this. So when I came here, of course I had to wait to become a citizen to vote, but I had come here with my husband. So my job then became to egg him on, go and vote in the primary, go and vote in something. He used to say, and he was like almost all Pakistanis, and he would say, अब presidential election होगा तो vote करेंगे. I would say, no, you have to go and vote for this council person. You have to go vote for Board of Education. So that's when I got my citizenship. I think the most exciting part of it was to be able to go and vote. So I think it's the understanding कि अगर आपको इस मुल्क में अगर आप you've left your home country, आप यहाँ आ गए हैं, अब ये आपका homeland हो गया. That was your motherland, this is your homeland. अब आपने यहाँ रहना है. So you must live in a way where you can be a useful citizen, and also you can benefit from the all the wonderful things available in this country. लोग एक बात नहीं समझते, आप taxes देते हैं, आप सब taxes देते हैं, I hope. Taxes देते हैं तो then it is your right to get the benefits back. ठीक है? I remember somebody telling me they were talking to this family to apply for SNAP, and they said हम तो नहीं जाएंगे, हम तो नहीं लेंगे. And the woman said, I told them, आपके ही पैसे आपको मिल रहे हैं, कोई आपको खैरात नहीं दे रहा. You know, you have to understand all these things. So if you, अगर आप participate करेंगे in your hometown, in your county, wherever, you are then actually making a difference for your community and yourself. Because I was the first Muslim to be elected and the first Pakistani, I've noticed suddenly so many Pakistanis coming to me asking me, "Hum kaise kar sakte hain?" That's exactly what I want. That's my goal. कि आप सब मुझे कहें, how can I run for office? Please come and ask me. I'll help you. I'll tell you. Because हमें और लोग चाहिए. कितने लोग हैं पाकिस्तानी elected? We need more people. Representation कैसे होगी?
Exactly.
I don't know if that answered your question, though.
No, that totally answered my question. That's exactly my point. And what you said about how you told your husband to go vote in the local elections. Many people don't realize that vote is actually more effective than the presidential vote, actually.
Absolutely. Primaries are the most important. You know, people never vote in primaries. Agar aap dekhein, 5%, 6%. And that's not just our community. Everybody across the board. Nahi jate hain. Only die-hard junkies like I go and vote in primary. But primary mein to aap elect karte hain candidate.
Yes.
The candidate is not elected in the general. It's actually the jo put up hoga, wohi elect hoga na. People don't understand the importance. Everybody focuses on the presidential election. Whereas it's the state that is involved in your day-to-day life much more than the federal government. How many times do you really need the federal government? How many times? When you get a passport, things like that, very harmless sort of things. But in your day-to-day life, whether it's DMV, Department of Labor, you do social work, social services, everything is run by state. Education. So people just don't understand this. जब तक ये understanding नहीं होगी, and it's not just Pakistanis are particularly bad at it, but even other communities नहीं समझते हैं कि this is where all is happening.
Exactly.
जी, मैं भी जानती हूँ कई लोगों को बहुत फख्र से कहते हैं कि हमने तो कभी वोट नहीं किया, हमें जरूरत ही नहीं है. तो so I know that, and the civic engagement aspect हमारी community का build up करना है और इस पे इसको popularize करना है. I think pop culture जो है has a purpose for it, so we need to popularize it within our own community.
I think it's Australia, I'm not sure, जहाँ अगर आप वोट नहीं करते तो आपको फाइन हो जाता है. I think
it is Australia. Yeah.
Australia. I thought that was brilliant. Fine. आपने वोट नहीं किया, fine करो. Just like you cross the red light, you get $120 fine. All right, now you didn't vote, pay up $120. I'd love to see how many people will stop voting then.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think it was up for political debate a few years back, but it didn't go.
It's very hard to push something like that in the United States.
Exactly. So in terms of, you spoke about how your husband, obviously you guys had a conversation when you got it before you came into politics, and this is from our female audience members out there who, I'm sorry, but as a American-Pakistani, I'm a firm belief that you can do whatever you put your mind to, whether you're a housewife or whether you're a mother of 5, 10, 6, well, not 15, that's but but like whatever you are, you can take action in whatever diorama that interests you. So but with that said, how do you think family plays a role? Like, how did family play a role in your upward trajectory in American political life?
Family is number one. Agar aapki family support nahi hogi, you can still do it, but it'll be very hard. Very hard. I was fortunate. My husband was always supportive of me. I used to go to council. Hamari council meetings hamesha sham ko shuru hoti hain 7:30 baje, and they would go on till 11:30, midnight. But there was never a question that he said, "Why are you out so late? Why would it?" He was so supportive. He encouraged me. He was always there for me. That makes a big difference. That makes a huge difference. I know there are people who are involved and their families are not supportive. I know personal friends who ran for office or unke ya husband or wife, the other party was not supportive. It makes the job that much more difficult because it tests the environment in the house. और आपने रहना तो घर में ही है ना, तो it is always a blessing to have your family's support. It that's half the battle won, half the battle won. But but to your point, if you are determined to do it, perhaps you can persuade your family then. Then that's where your persuasion skills come in. And if they see you succeed, they'll say, well, this is not a bad idea. You know, we are going to support her. But the family is really very important. Family support is very critical. I'm a firm believer in that.
Agreed. I think a great way to convince husbands would be like, hey, if I run for office, I might be able to bring down the tax percentage of our town. So just
No, you already have got the argument ready.
exactly. Not that I'm planning to run. I mean, I'm just in awe of you. Like I'm like just
Why not?
awe-inspired of you.
Why don't you run?
Right. So she has a lot of potential for sure.
People like you.
I'm a more behind the scenes type of person, but for sure, like
I was behind the scenes running campaigns for others, and then I ran the campaign for myself. So don't give up. Nusrat, isko samjhao.
So in terms of I know you the first time you ran for office was post 9/11. I definitely want to talk about that, like what was your experience? And that's another excuse that's used by many Muslim Americans, like especially with what's always trending on media, the kind of things that you have to deal with. Did you ever have to deal with any sort of backlash as a Muslim American? I know you are American first, and I'm a firm believer in that same. I'm American. I'm an American Muslim and an American-Pakistani, and I know you also go with the same kind of mantra. But running post 9/11, did you deal with any backlash? Did you deal with any sort of difficulty?
No, surprisingly not. My town is fairly strongly democratic, so I was running as a Democrat, and I think that's what got me elected. But I did not really face any major backlash, or nobody came up and said, "Oh, you're a Muslim, and I'm not going to vote for you." Stuff like that. But there are people, and I'll tell you an example. But this was not because I was a Muslim; it's because of the color of my skin. I'm a brown person. I'm a non-white. I was standing outside the post office, and this elder woman walks by, and I tried to hand her my flyer, and she said, "You can't even speak English. I won't vote for you." But I don't think she didn't even know who I was. She just looked at me and she said, "This person is not white." People like that, you have to forgive them. You can't hold it to your heart. You can't let it upset you. You have to forgive them. They don't know better. They don't know any better. God forgive them and you forgive them and let it go. So those are the types of a few things happened, not because I was Muslim, but because I was not white. So I didn't let that bother me, honestly. And in this game, you hear so many. You have to develop people say a thick skin. I say you have to develop tolerance to all of this.
Exactly. Excellent.
हम बिहाइंड द सीन्स भी बात कर रहे थे कि माशाल्लाह इतनी एनर्जी, इतना पैशन आप में काम का और सर्विंग द कम्युनिटी नजर आता है. तो क्या करती हैं आप? अपना डे बताएं. हाउ इज योर डे लाइक, योर वर्क लाइफ लाइक?
Well, आजकल तो खैर it's gone really crazy. जब से I become chair of the committee, suddenly everybody in that field wants to talk to me. So we are doing meetings like this Zoom meeting. We have meetings. We have online meetings, in-person meetings. And I'm visiting all. I mean, just say food security is a big issue, part of my committee. अब मैं बहुत सारे food pantries, food banks, go and visit them, go and meet with people, because I'm looking at it that I'll only be good at this job if I understand what I'm working for. So I'm trying, this is my education. I tell everybody, I don't know anything, educate me. So I'm going everywhere trying to learn. It becomes very busy, and then you have to go to events. And one evening after the other, you have to, and some of the events are great fun. Nusrat, you and I were together last night It was a great fun event. Some of them are pretty tedious, you know. You have to sit through long speeches, you have to sit through, but it's all part of learning how it works. Even if you go to the most boring event under the sun, but you meet one person who said something that made it something worthwhile, it's worth the time. And I guess because I enjoy the work, that's why I get the energy to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, many duas for you to continue with that and making us proud. Everyone looks up to you, mashallah. हमारी
No,
टीम में तो आपका आना जो है, हमारे इवेंट में आप आ रही हैं, लोग आपसे आके मिलेंगे उसमें. So this is an excitement already for us.
this
Thank
is
you
a
for doing that.
I think this is a blessing from God, and because He's given me this opportunity, I have to use it well. Maybe this is what He wants me to do. I mean, we all believe that. We all believe that what we get is from God. At least I believe that, and I believe कि ये मौका अल्लाह मियाँ ने मुझे दिया है. I must not waste it.
Inshallah. So we have a question from our audience. Rashid Munzer asks, as American Muslims, what steps can we take for our country to have bipartisan agreements and minimize division amongst our communities?
That's $1 million question, because the environment is so bad. The environment is so bad that it's going to take more than one effort to improve it. But I think एक तरीका ये है, as a community, we meet both sides of the aisle. आप Democrat से भी मिले, आप Republican से भी मिले. Even if you don't like them, doesn't matter. अगर आपको Democrat जो है, आपका अगर कोई elected official है जो आपको नहीं अच्छा लगता, Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. आप इस नजरिए से देखें, ये elect हो गया है, he is there, I have to work with him. You work in an office, you don't like everybody in the office, मगर अपना काम आपका नहीं होगा जब तक आप दूसरों के साथ नहीं करेंगे. Everybody's work is intertwined. So to make your work good, you may have to deal with X, Y, and Z who's a jerk, but doesn't matter. You'll deal with them because otherwise it'll affect your work. So we have to look at it that way. Meet all of them whether you like them or not, whether they're Democrats, whether they're Republicans. Bring your ideas to both parties. Try to get them to understand your point of view. It's very easy to shout and scream and write nasty things on Facebook. Fala aisa hai, dimka aisa hai. It gets you nowhere. Nobody really takes note of that. But if you walk into a room, you sit down with people, you explain in a very, in a very professional manner. This is what I think is wrong. I dislike this policy. XYZ don't follow this policy because this is the outcome. हो सकता है उस बंदे ने सोचा भी नहीं होगा कि what the outcome is. Or at least he or she will say, these people are not crazy. They're pretty reasonable people. Let me get to know them better. And at the end of the day, everybody wants your vote. Everybody wants your vote. If you're from that district, first thing the antenna go up, vote, 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 vote. So everybody will listen. You have to start doing it. That's the only thing. I say we have to start thinking in a bipartisan manner. We have to start saying, let's not be the victims here. Yeah, we are being, Muslims are being put upon. Of course, हमारे खिलाफ बहुत propaganda हो रहा है. Of course, Muslims को revile किया जा रहा है. But we should say, you can do that. I'm not going to let this bring me down. I'm going to do what I think is right and move ahead. It's not easy, but what in life is really, tell me. Even raising babies is difficult.
Indeed. We have another question. You're so insightful, and I actually that would be a question that even I would ask is, you're extremely insightful, and many people lack that quality. How are you so insightful? How are you able to represent the ideas of all your constituents so well? Like, how do you, is it research? Is it your team? Like, or is it you? In fact, I think it is.
It's a mixture of a lot. First of all, you have to be prepared to listen. That is number one. Politicians love to talk. We all love to talk, but you have to be prepared to listen. You have to go to every community and listen to them, whether you like what they are saying or not. You may not like what they are saying. It may annoy you. It may irritate you, but you have to say, this is their point of view. I'm the person representing them. I must listen to their point of view. And then you realize, after you do it often, you realize that you're learning things from them also. Every time you meet people, you learn something from them. Then of course, I'm very fortunate to have a really good staff. That really helps because it keeps you on track. Your time is organized, otherwise you'll be all over the place. And that helps that you have a good staff who organizes your life and helps you get to all the places you need to get to. Or I think listening is the number one thing. If you listen to people, you'll understand where they are coming from, what they're, and baaz dafa ye hota hai, community X is on this side, community Y is on this side. They both want diametrically opposite thing. There's a bridge being built, we don't want it, it's increasing traffic in our town. I can't get to my work unless that bridge is built. So now what do? Do you build it, or you don't build it? So then you have to sit down and work with these communities to come to a compromise. That's how you can be successful. But you have to keep an open mind. You can't think, I'm a Muslim, so Muslims should come number one with me. No, I have been elected by a community in my district. I have been elected by these people. There are 220,000 people in my district who vote for me. Of them, all the ones who voted to elect me, even the ones who did not vote to elect me, now that I'm elected, I have to represent them all. So they are number one, not me, not anybody else. All the constituents should be number one. That's how I see it.
It's definitely, very insightful to hear. आपके साथ relatability है as a politician, regardless of, बहुत अच्छे और भी politicians हैं, but definitely background की relatability आपसे relate करते हुए लगती है. तो हम पाकिस्तानी TV देखते हैं और वहाँ पे politicians देखते हैं. You have served in political arena over there, and what a shift from there to here. ये
Yeah.
transition आपको करते हुए मुश्किल हुई या automatic transition था? क्या process रहा आपका इसमें?
I just think it wasn't so bad then, perhaps, or maybe I was young enough and didn't think it was so bad. Ye nahi mujhe pata. But it seems it's just going downhill. That's why it's so sad when you see what's happening there. But yeah, like I said, certain things don't change. And you to succeed in this political sphere, compromise, pragmatism, these things you have to have with you all the time. Sometimes you will do things and your own community will not like it. But you have to do it because this is what is for good for the greater community. And the greater community is my entire district. My entire district consists of 10 towns. So I have to listen to my 10 towns. They're the ones who elected me. Even if I personally don't like, अगर मुझे कोई policy ऐसी है जो मुझे on a personal level नहीं पसंद, but मेरा personal level doesn't matter in this. My personal level is not important. It's अगर मेरी community, my election district, my voting community is saying to me, we want this. This is what we absolutely want. And even if I personally don't like it, I have to accept it, unless I can persuade them otherwise. But if I cannot, they come before anything. They come before me, they come before my community, my religion, nothing. I have to listen to them. My religion, my community is my personal sphere. But one has to learn that you have to rise above everything because now you're being given this responsibility. Ye aapki duty ban gayi hai. These are the people you are supposed to look after. And if you don't do that, then you fail in your job. And that's even worse, you become so entrenched in your personal thing that you forget to serve the people who put you in that office. This office is a trust. I didn't inherit it. I didn't buy it. It was given to me by the people. And if I don't do what the people want, then I'm a failure.
एग्जैक्टली सो एक बहुत अरसा पहले मुझे किसी ने कहा था कि कुछ चीज़ें ना जो होती हैं वो एक अमानत होती है, अमाना, राइट? एक्चुअली एक मेरी इजिप्शियन फ्रेंड ने ही मुझे बोला था कि दिस इज अमाना. सो दिस जस्ट लाइक दैट आई एग्री विद यू 100% दैट political office is actually an amana, and unfortunately political office and political life and political careers get a really bad rap. but you are the antithesis of that reputation, frankly speaking, that politics get, because you are so highly representative of all of your constituent, your district, no matter their race, religion, or creed. And yeah, so with that said, define politics for you. How do you, if somebody said, what's politics, what's political life, or what is a politician, with all of our kind of nuances that we come with when we come into, when we define this word, how do you define it as Miss Assemblywoman Shama Haider?
Well, I, instead of politics, I prefer to say public service. And if you look at it like public service, then it becomes very clear to you. You have been elected, of course, that part is politics. But once you are elected, then it becomes your job to perform public service. Because, this is not, like I said, this is not something you are born into, you inherit. Of course, people are trying to make family dynasties out of it. We all know that very well. But the point is that once you are elected to office, you have to look at it as amana. That's the only way. And that's the way it is for me. I sometimes my staff will get exhausted from the meetings and say, can we not have a meeting tomorrow? But I have to tell them, no, we have to meet because there's still people waiting to see us. I mean, their time is more important than mine. I have to look at it that way. If I don't look at it that way, I keep feeling that if I don't look at it that way, I'm the one who's becoming selfish and, not doing what I'm supposed to do. So, think of it as public service.
Okay.
Excellent.
So, हमने आपके साथ इतना सारा वक्त गुजारा और हम वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हैं और आप हमारी वन ऑफ द एम्पावर्ड वुमेन, हमारी रोल मॉडल, हमारी हीरो हम समझते हैं. तो यहाँ जो हमारी दोस्तें, हमारी फ्रेंड्स, हमारे कॉलीग्स देख रहे हैं आपको, आप ये बताएं कि क्या कोई मैसेज है उनके लिए आपका, और या कोई some inspirational quote जो आप follow करती हैं, अगर आप उसके बारे में कुछ.
I'm very bad at remembering inspirational quotes, but my message is, please get involved with your community. That is the most important thing. Agar aapko interest hai, then run for office. So you can go and serve on a board or a commission. I served on every board and commission in my town until I ran for office. I served on the Environment Commission. I served on the Business Development Committee. I chaired the Planning Board. मैंने कोई ऐसा department नहीं छोड़ा जिसमें मैंने time नहीं गुजारा. You call your mayor, वो आपको जरूर कहीं adjust कर लेगा. I was a member of the library board. हर चीज में. Because when you are engaged with your town, you also learn about your state, about the community around you. Or this is the best way to serve your community and yourself. Get engaged, get involved with your town. Town mein nahi jana, bahar jao, go and work in the county. There's so many places, there's so many good organizations where you can volunteer. But please be part of the community. Please jaake vote kare. Please run for office. What you are doing, Nusrat, is God's work, really. What you guys are doing in serving women, that Shehzori house, that's God's work. People should come and volunteer for you and help you there. Write checks to you. You can help in, agar aap kehte hain ji maine kuch nahi karna hai, but I'll write a check. Even that is helpful. But just get involved. It's a great example for your children and it's good for yourself. खुद को इतनी satisfaction मिलती है इस काम से. That's all I will say. I just want people to get more involved.
हमारे पास एक last question आया है, बीनिश, अगर आप ले लें वो question.
Okay. Okay, how is one to serve? Manzur Danish asks, how is one to serve in the public and appease the politicians simultaneously without politicians just serving the people? I think he means like, how does one stand ground in political life, especially with our divided politics, often, especially often that we see in this day and age? How does one serve the people, irregardless of the political standpoint that one stands at?
I think people often think politics is something out here. I believe this was a very wise political friend of mine once said, because somebody said, we were talking and somebody said, oh, I don't like politics. So she turned around and said, do you breathe? And I said, Louise, what do you mean? She says, start with your family. Isn't there family politics? We all know there's family politics. Politics is part of our lives. You have politics in the family, you have politics in the workplace, you have politics amongst your children, you have everywhere. What you have to do is say, ये तो चलता रहेगा, मैं अपना काम करूं. You tell me, Nusrat, you work so damn hard, so hard. Of course, you have political issues, but तुम क्या कर रही हो? You are saying, I'm focused on this, I'm doing this. And everything else will start falling into place. And if it's something which is really bad, ignore it. Continue doing your work. But you have a goal and you say कि मैंने ये करना है. Do it. And the politics will always be there. It's never going to go away. You're never going to appease everybody. Don't try to please everybody. You're never going to please everybody. Somebody is always going to say, wo Nusrat jo hai, that's right. Don't let it become a personal thing. You made up your mind. You are doing this absolutely amazing job with Women to Women. Continue doing it. And if there are detractors, there's politics and all, don't let it get in the way. Apna goal hona chahiye.
I always like to say whenever anybody says, oh, but I don't like this about your so-and-so doesn't like that you're doing. I'm like, well, I'm not biryani. I can't satisfy everybody.
That's right. You can't. You do what you have to do. That's
exactly.
I think there'll be people who will be unhappy with you. People who will be angry with you. People won't like you. But you have to say, I'm doing this because I believe this to be the right thing. And and people will see the results.
Right. Doing the right thing is the bigger message. Get engaged and do the right thing.
Absolutely. And nobody could be better at it than you. You're the perfect role model for that, Nusrat. I really admire you for the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. Actually, people like you are the ones who have stood by our side, and that's why we are able to do it. It cannot be one person's work. मेरी team, Beenish है, हम लोग 9 members हैं हमारे board पे, हम 30 something खवातीन हैं host committee पे. They are all wonderful people who are making, shaking the ground and making things happen.
Making a huge difference. That's the main key. Making a huge. Every little bit counts, and every little bit will make a difference.
तो अब हम आपको बहुत जल्दी दोबारा मिलने वाले हैं. March 2nd को आप आ रही हैं और जी हमारी फ्रेंड्स वेट कर रही हैं आपका, क्योंकि हमारा खाना हमारे लिए बहुत खुशी हमें देता है.
Looking forward to it. Totally. And Beenish, you're running for office, right? You promised that?
Oh boy.
I'm going to work on you, okay?
Sure.
अपनी बेटी को भी बताएगी, दोनों मिलके रन करेंगे.
Yeah, inshallah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's women like you that inspire people like me, and and women like Miss Nusrat, in fact, to see such individuals that are not only fulfilling their so-called Pakistani expectations that come from the nuances of being in a Pakistani family, but also pursuing their dreams and representing Pakistani women in such an amazing way is just it's just, there's no words. I run out of words, and I often don't run out of words, as everybody knows. So it's just amazing to see that. Thank you so much, Ms. Shama, for joining us today. And and I actually want to thank Ms. Nusrat as well. I don't know if anybody can tell she's not feeling well. Thank you so much for being my backup. I insisted that she be here. And so thank you so much for joining us. And I cannot wait. And everybody, you got the message. Go out and vote, because every vote, whether it's for congressional, whether it's for state, whether it's for caucus, it counts. And frankly speaking, you are American-Pakistani. So go out and fulfill your civic duty.
Thank you for this conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you, both of you. And Nusrat, I'm looking forward to the event.
Inshallah. All right, take care, everyone.
Allah Hafiz.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah Hafiz.